Hello, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Knight, and today we are talking about this book, "Data as the Fourth Pillar: An Executive Guide for Scaling AI." And Sujay and Sidd are basically here with me. Sujay and Sidd, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot, Tim, for inviting us. I believe at the outset you are doing a great service to us authors and to the community, helping all of us learn together. So it's all learning and sharing. So my name is Sujay Dutta. I'm based in Stockholm. So together with Sid, written this book, and I'm happy to be here, based in Stockholm, and working in a full-time job at Databricks. But this book initiative is our personal goal, our personal initiative, and I kind of helping leaders, business leaders, champion the cause of data and leverage, maximize the value from that. But happy to talk further as we move along. So over to you, Sid.
Yeah, I mean, similar background as Sujay, part of writing this book together with him the last couple of years. So I'm sure we can talk about that journey. But my name is Sid Rajagopal. I'm based in the Netherlands, Eindhoven, the city of Eindhoven, originally from India, and also work at Informatica, which is a data management enterprise. But again, we are here to talk about the book and not representing our employees.
So thanks very much for the book. Really enjoyed it. Let's dig in and actually talk about data as the fourth pillar. In the book, you talk that the classic people, process, technology, and the fourth pillar being data. So explain to us your inspiration for this and why you decided that you wanted to write the book.
Yeah, I think the inspiration comes from experiencing with enterprises. Both Sid and I have our own perspectives, and we come from different angles. However, we align on this topic as we have been working with enterprises, and in this AI first age, enterprises realize that if they have to scale AI in their business processes, data is a crucial, important part of that equation. However, as you move up to the business executives, the boards and CxOs, even though they understand that they have to scale AI, they today fail to realize the importance of data. And when the data topics comes in, they have a notion that it is too technical, and then delegate that discussion to their technical and IT teams who do not have the complete enterprise perspective. So our core mission with this book is to elevate that importance with the boards and CxOs and make it a important cog in the wheel, important pillar of their operating model, so that they are thinking about people, process, and technology today, not forget data and add data to the equation.
And
Sid?
to add to that, when we've experienced this in our day jobs, we saw a lot of times when we reach business leaders, especially, there are different varying understandings of what data is. For instance, we've heard some say, "Hey, that's something I see in a file or a database, or sometimes even Excel sheet." If you're part of finance, for example,
Yeah.
but often we miss the larger context of connecting the context behind the data. So often we say, the can of beans, more important than the beans today is the package information about it, like the ingredients, uh, the sourcing and all that, right? Similarly, from a data perspective as well, it's not just only the beans or the can of beans, it's the information that enterprises store behind it. And with this AI world, which is why we've called it the exec guide to scaling AI, that context is king. So that's the other purpose. We saw the AI wave hitting, but still not the recognition from leaders that data still needs to be in order before you start tackling the AI, initiatives, or in
Yeah.
parallel. Yeah.
And I know when I first met you, you impressed upon me that that data deserves an equal standing at the executive table.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that equal standing, and people may ask why, so why data, why not, and why now as well. So these are two important associated questions to answer, and I think AI gives you that answer of why now, right? And it's well recognized by different industry reports as well that there is no AI without a data that you trust and that you can leverage for your business purposes.
Yeah, and just to add, it's not that enterprises are not doing this. So there are enterprises who are looking at data strategically. But what we've often also seen is it's strategically looked at in one pocket of the enterprise. So, for example, perhaps data is very strategic in some enterprises in their sales organization because they're using that to get more, leads and opportunities and get more. But it may not be as strategically connected to the products or maybe the services that enterprise is building, or that's another silo. So when you start connecting all this information, you get a wealth more that you can build either for AI or for completely building new business models out of this. So that's kind of the perspective we also wanted to share in the book.
There's a lot been written about AI strategy and transformation. What gap do you see in the market that this book basically fits?
Sid, you want to take?
Yeah. So I mean, connecting the dots. So if you see this book, that's why we've called it data as the fourth pillar, not data as a pillar, right? So we
Yeah.
see enterprises talk a lot about AI. There are a lot of books, as you said, coming about AI, but that is coming more from a technology angle. What can AI do? What can agents do? What can generative AI language models do? Similarly, there's a lot of great books before we started writing on data itself, but they've all been talking about the capabilities behind data. There are great books on data modeling, there are great books on data engineering, but that's not hitting the target audience we would like this to bring up, as we just discussed at the C suite and the boardroom. So the book aims at connecting all of these facets. So it's not something which we've said data on its own, connecting data to AI, connecting AI to business strategy, as well as connecting data to the other three pillars, which is people, process, and technology.
Yeah. And to add to that, Tim, AI is a reality. And however, the maturity levels are different for different companies. The book aims to bring in that urgency that even though there is a maturity journey involved for you, you need to first identify where you are and then progress your journey. But you need to be on the road, sitting at home, and you cannot realize AI at scale like a blink of an eye or a switching on a click of a button. That is not AI. AI is a transformation change, not only at a technology layer, but at a people layer, because you have to drive competency, you have to address the concerns of individual, and also at a process layer. So that transformation brings in a journey approach. You need to think it's not a small time project, it's like a risk of existence for your organization. Hence the why now also is an important question, in addition to why data, because data has been existent since the birth of enterprises. It's nothing new, but why now also is a critical question, and we want to drive that urgency through the book as well.
You described the book as an executive guide. What are the biggest misconceptions that senior leaders still have about scaling AI in their organizations?
I mean, there are several of them, right? I mean, the first, as we've tried to hit on the book, is you can just scale AI without having the right data. So what we mean by data, again, going back to different facets of data. It's not just the data, is the context as well, right? So for instance, if you're really wanting, you might be able to do it as said before at a pocket of the enterprise. So you might be able to build some kind of a chatbot. But if you really want to scale AI, hence the word scaling, across the enterprise, where you can build it on what we call trusted information, not just you know uh, AI, we feel, is going to be commoditized if it's not already the case today, right? So, for instance, just to give a practical example, we've just been able to spin up the website of our book using a tool like Cursor, right? So AI is becoming very much a commodity. However, what is going to differentiate enterprise is the context and the data, because that is proprietary to every enterprise, right? The data and enterprise, for example, if you're a retail chain, the information you have about your products, your customers, your suppliers is unique to you. And you could use that to build your own version of AI, either to accelerate the business or to create new business models. For instance, you could start even monetizing some of these information that you have about customers to your business partners, for example. So I think those are kind of uh, the areas where we feel it's really important for business leaders to not see data, to Sujay's previous point, as a technology element, something that you just ask your IT teams to go ahead and clean up, but really see how in every business strategy that you have, or you're perhaps transforming your enterprise, you're performing an mergers and acquisition, or you're acquiring companies, you're performing some kind of a new geographical unit where you want to expand. In all of these, data has a role to play, in addition to you having AI capabilities in there. So that's kind of the key point we wanted to address, when we set data as the fourth pillar for AI.
So one thing that you haven't mentioned, and I wanted to bring in the term, which is that data being a strategic asset. Because you were kind of getting there, but you didn't actually say it. How should organizations think about data governance and culture if they want data to truly become a strategic asset?
Yeah, I think first you have to realize is that data is very peculiar and typical. It flows. It's a thread. It's a part of the fabric of your organization. It resides in your people. It resides in your processes. It resides in your technology, and that's a key challenge for organizations to make the transformation change when you have been treating data as a byproduct. And with that byproduct, the data operations teams get treated as a cost center, right? To make that strategic shift from a cost center to a strategic asset wherein it can bring business transformation for you, it can drive data monetization initiatives, business model changes. So that's a change that is required across the people, process, and technology of the organization. So you need to bring in a mindset change that speaks to data culture, how people take ownership of the data from the top to the individual contributors, how in the processes there's a lot of noise or right talk about poor quality of data, and that poor quality of data is created or started when data is born within the processes. So how you are ensuring that the processes are tight enough to not give birth to poor quality data, right? So that's a process angle. And from a technology angle, most applications, when actually enterprises evolved from people, process, and added technology, they thought data as being stored in the technology, so it got tightly coupled in technologies, and that restricts organization to treat it as a strategic asset by helping to share with the people and process smoothly. So how do you unlock data from the technology is the third key dimension. So these three transformation changes are needed to bring about this change from data as a byproduct, as a cost center, to a strategic asset and a part of your operating pillar, Tim.
And to add to
Go on, Sid.
Sorry, just to add to Sujay's
Yeah.
point and your question, Tim, I think the first other point which we've kind of highlighted very well in the book is for every enterprise to look at. So to answer your question, how do they go about it? Look at it from two angles. One is demand. So how is you and your business units having the demand on data from, as I said before, the business cases that you have or your business strategy. And the second angle is from a supply standpoint. So where are you with supplying and meeting that demand, right? So those are two pillars to look at if you want to look at how to go about it practically. And hopefully over time, if you're measuring this properly, you should see an increase in either of these, right? So your demand should increase and the supply should be able to increase to meet that demand.
And so, do you recommend or suggest any practical steps or frameworks that people can use to do this?
I think the maturity framework that is covered in the chapter 4 of the book is the key map. It's like when you are going for a hike or you're walking in the park, you need to create a map for yourself as to where I am and where do you want to go. You want to go out for an evening for a dinner to the restaurant, you need to have a map. So that map is also very simple. We have proposed a two-dimensional map. As Sid was saying, the demand, that is the y-axis, and the x-axis is the supply. So very first point before you even begin the journey is to understand where you are on the map. Unless you know where you are, you cannot go anywhere, right? So that is the key framework, the maturity framework. Understand your first initial position, and then as you are senior, like the chief data officer will think 4 or 5 steps ahead. where are going to go 2 years, 3 years down the line, and get that buy-in within the management team. Okay, this is where we want to go 2 to 3 years. This is the funding needed. This is the expected returns that we're going to deliver. And as you go down to the data teams and the data operations teams, they think about the next one step and two step. And together, to enhance the demand, they need to work with the business, and to enhance the supply, they need to build in processes capabilities, people capabilities, and technology capabilities within the data operating model.
To add to that, of course, every business leader looks at KPIs. So you're
Yeah.
measured only on KPIs. So also in
Yeah.
the book, we've defined a few key KPIs based on this maturity model to look at, things like your total addressable value, which is equivalent to the TAM. So every company, when they enter a new space, you look at things like your product market fit, look at the TAM that you have before you decide, how right it is to get in here. Similarly, we want every data leader along with the business to identify the TAM, which we call the TAV. That will allow you to take the next steps towards seeing how you can realize the value, which ones you should tackle. So those are further KPIs which we've defined, because we realize that every business leader also requires practical KPIs to measure all of these.
I think it's fascinating that not only are you putting forward a framework, but you're showing a measurement as well. Ethics and trust. With AI scaling rapidly, trust and transparency are becoming critical. How can leaders embed ethical data practices without slowing innovation?
Yeah, very interesting and important question in the age of AI as well, because you feel seem to be handing over the keys to this super AI technology, and we do not know. It's a black box. What are they going to do? They do not have emotions. They do not, like you and I could agree to something. Prem, this is what we're going to do. Where is the handshake happens with an AI tool, right? And how are they going to respect it? And that's one of the reasons, as Sid and I were discussing, we formulated a term called data intensity. And why? We feel data is like fire. It has the duality of a fire because it is a source of innovation and energy, and bulk of the human civilization innovation has happened based on the innovation of fire. However, fire can burn you down, it can cause forest fires, right? So with AI, the risk of the fires also increases. The AI could make wrong decisions faster if you do not feed in the accurate data, the trusted data. So with data intensity, how do you measure it is in three dimensions, not only quality, which is quite agreed in terms of garbage in, garbage out, but also speed and compliance. And so compliance becomes a very important part. And compliance is not only external regulations, but you need to be self compliant and self regulating as well. And that's where you create policies and guidelines in terms of ethics, in terms of what data can be shared, and taking care of any personal sensitivities and company confidential information, right? So hence, when thinking about data for AI, you need to move beyond just quality and think of QCS, quality, compliance, and speed. Said
And
anything?
to add to that, if you think of it from the maturity perspective, right, enterprises will start doing this for every use case at the start. So for every use case, you start determining what's this calibration of quality, compliance, and speed. But over time, what should happen is there should also be, and that's what we've called in the book, a data operating model, where common lingo, how you want this combination to apply from an enterprise perspective, should also kick in. And this is where we require the people to come in together. So it's a huge change management program as well. It's not just a data program. Don't expect just you'll fill the data in and the context in and the operating model and it will work. It requires the right focus from the people, and this people in this case will involve the ethics and the trust council, the security, privacy folks as well.
And in the last minute, what kind of leadership mindset is required to make data and AI part of any organization's DNA?
I mean, to start off, you should realize as a business leader or any leader, what's in it for me and my enterprise. So identifying the potential is step one. If you still feel it's a nice discussion point, but I don't see the value of data in my enterprise, I think you should again not just see the data you have today, but the data AI is also going to create, because AI is also creating data as a byproduct of sorts. So looking at all that information, looking at information that you are collecting as an enterprise, and strategically thereby seeing how data can add value. So connecting your value from data. So far we have discussed data value, but if data can be part of your balance sheet eventually, and your enterprise value as a result, that is, I think, the key strategic mind shift required. Everything else in terms of laying the programs to fund it, to sponsor it, to execute it will follow. But unless that key moment comes, the rest is not going to happen.
And to add to that, Tim, I would say, as a business leader, you must be paranoid about the situation, because AI is just not a technology evolution, it's a transformation change which is going to disrupt your business.
Yeah.
So the lifespan of every enterprise is going to shrink, because what AI does, it reduces the entry barriers for new organizations to come in. So if you feel comfortable and stay comfortable with your business, you will soon get disrupted very fast. And that's why you need to be more and more paranoid. What should I be doing today? And then there is a people angle to it. If you as a leader is not rapidly changing your organizations, bringing in these AI skills available to your employees, maybe some or most of the forward looking employees would leave your organization. You will face an attrition, because those individuals for their own careers would need to go somewhere else to advance their own profile, so that their market value continues. So there is that people angle as well. You cannot stay comfortable. And third dimension, I will say, Sid brought a very good point. What's in it for me? But it's a not only for leader, the key challenge, and that's where the chief HR officers should come in. They need to clarify what's in it for me, for every individual in the company. So that incentive model needs to be clarified. So you can imagine, in a company which is much longer, they would have employees working for 20 years, 30 years, right? What's in it for them to lay out their knowledge, put it into a document which any AI agent could read? They get marginalized.
Yeah.
So what is the motivation to give from their side? And that's where all the experiences lie. So if I in an organization have to maximize the leverage of AI, I have to get out the knowledge from these experienced people, and so that an agent could attach them. And that's where the maturity of the agents will go up. But then you have to clarify, why would those individuals do it, right? So that's the key challenge, I would say, which organization needs to do it. So they need to be paranoid. They need to do so many things on their plate, and just cannot run on experimentation of cool use cases and just show in the media and make themselves look good. I think that is a very superficial thinking. There's a lot of water boiling down. If you don't open your eyes deep down, find you will be totally caught off guard.
Sujay and Sidd, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your book, Data as the Fourth Pillar, an executive guide for scaling AI. If I wanted to buy a copy, where can I get one from?
I think it's available in all the stores, the Amazons, the Barnes and Nobles, the Waterstones. I think the best starting point is probably our website. Our website is datathefourthpillar.com. From there, you'll get the right channels to purchase the book.
I met you at a big data conference in London, didn't I?
Yeah.
And they'd sold out by 10:30. So it's obviously selling fast. And where can we get hold of you, Sujay and Sidd?
Yeah, we are on LinkedIn, so you can find our LinkedIn profiles from the book's website, but you can search, our names are on the screen, so you can search us on LinkedIn. And happy to connect and happy to explore the discussion. I think the book is now a tool, at least that's how I see it. We want to kickstart conversations in organizations, go in and talk, bring this topic up to your boards and CxOs, and get this discussion going. Again, connecting, the time is now. You cannot stay rest. You need to have that paranoia feeling to act quickly and now.
Thank you so much for